Have you ever loved someone so deeply, you gave everything, even when you had nothing left to give? Would you believe that the boy everyone called a burden would one day return not just to thank her, but to change her life forever? This is the emotional and unforgettable story of a mother's heart and the boy who repaid her love in the most unexpected way. It was a cold, rainy night when Mama Grace first saw him. A tiny, shivering figure curled beneath an empty market stall, soaked to the bone and silent as if he had long forgotten how to cry. His clothes were torn, his body thin, and his eyes hollow with hunger and fear. She had no reason to stop. No obligation. She was barely surviving herself, a widow grieving the loss of her husband and only child in a fire that took everything from her. But something about the boy stirred her heart like a whisper from the past. Without hesitation, she pulled off her shawl, wrapped it around him, and led him home through the rain. Her house was small, made of old wood and patched walls, but it was warm. That night, she gave him food, clean water, and a place to sleep, not because she could afford to, but because she remembered what it felt like to be alone in the dark. The town didn't understand her kindness. People whispered behind her back. "Why is she keeping that street trash?" they said. Others warned her, "He'll steal from you, Grace." But she ignored them all. She named him Daniel. From that night on, Mama Grace became his world. She shared her meals, even when her own stomach growled. She washed his clothes by hand, taught him to read, and tucked him into bed every night with stories of courage and hope. She believed in him before he believed in himself. Years passed, and Daniel grew into a bright, kind-hearted young man. He was grateful beyond words, always helping Mama Grace with chores, fetching water, fixing broken windows, and studying hard to make her proud. She worked tirelessly to send him to school, often skipping meals so he wouldn't miss a day of learning. And then came the day Daniel graduated at the top of his class. The ceremony was simple, but Mama Grace wept with joy, her heart swelling with pride. But just weeks later, Daniel vanished without a trace. All he left behind was a single note on the kitchen table. "I'll return, Mama. Bigger than you ever dreamed." Heartbroken but hopeful, Mama Grace held onto those words like a promise carved into stone. She waited. And waited. 7 long years passed. 7 years had been cruel to Mama Grace. Her once strong hands now trembled with age. Her back ached from years of hard labor, and the house she once kept so proudly now leaned like it too was tired of standing. She still lived in that same wooden home, its paint long faded, its roof patched with whatever she could find. Each morning, she woke up hoping for news, a letter, a voice, anything. But there was nothing. Just silence. Neighbors came less often now. The world seemed to forget about her, moving forward without a second glance. Still, every evening, she lit a small lamp by the window, just in case Daniel would return one day. She never stopped believing. Then one afternoon, as the sun dipped low and painted the sky in golds and reds, a sound broke through the quiet, a deep, smooth purr of an engine unlike anything ever heard around these parts. A sleek black Lamborghini rolled up to her gate, shiny enough to reflect the sky itself. It came to a stop, and from it stepped a man in a tailored suit, his shoes clicking softly against the dirt road. He looked around slowly, eyes scanning the broken fence, the worn-out porch, and finally landing on the old woman standing at the door. Her heart pounded. She couldn't believe what she was seeing. He walked toward her, slow and deliberate, as if trying not to scare her. As he got closer, she saw his face clearly, older, sharper, but unmistakably him. "Daniel!" she whispered, barely audible. He dropped to his knees right there on the ground, tears streaming down his face. "I'm home, Mama," he said, voice trembling. "I kept my promise." Mama Grace stood frozen, overwhelmed. Was this real? Or had loneliness finally played tricks on her mind? Daniel reached into his coat pocket and pulled out something wrapped in velvet. He held it out to her with both hands. It was a set of keys. Behind them, the car doors opened, revealing a brand new house, her name engraved on the mailbox. And that was only the beginning. Daniel stood up slowly, never taking his eyes off Mama Grace. He reached for her hands, those same hands that had bathed him when he was sick, fed him when he was hungry, and held him when the world felt too cruel. He kissed them gently, tears still flowing freely. "I owe you everything," he said. "You gave me a life when I had none. You loved me when no one else would." Then he pulled out another item from his coat, a small black box. Inside were documents bearing her name, bank accounts, property deeds, and shares in a thriving business, all in Mama Grace's name. "I built it all for you," Daniel whispered. "Not just to give you comfort, but to show the world who made me who I am. You are my mother, not by blood, but by love. And I will never let anyone forget that." Mama Grace could barely speak. Her heart was full, overflowing with emotions she couldn't name. She reached forward and wrapped her arms around him, the way she had done so many years ago, when he was just a cold, shivering boy under a market stall. And this time, she didn't let go. Daniel had become a global tech CEO, rising through the ranks of innovation and leadership. He started his own company from scratch, building apps that connected millions and changed how people lived. His journey wasn't easy. There were failures, lonely nights, and moments he almost gave up. But every time he thought of Mama Grace, he found strength. It was her voice he heard in his head when he signed his first big deal. It was her face he saw when he stepped onto international stages. And it was her love that kept him grounded through it all. Now, standing before her in the flesh, he was not just returning as a successful man. He was returning as her son, forever grateful for the woman who gave him a second chance at life. A helping hand can lift someone higher than you imagine. Daniel started life as a homeless child with nothing. But one person's compassion gave him a chance, a home, an education, and hope. That single opportunity allowed him to rise, not just out of poverty, but all the way to becoming a global tech CEO. Mama Grace didn't just feed him, she believed in him. Never underestimate the power of lifting someone up when they're down. Your support might be the very thing that helps them change their destiny. Love without expectation can change lives. Mama Grace gave everything she had, her time, her heart, and even her last meal, to a boy who was not hers by blood. She loved Daniel without asking for anything in return. And though many doubted her kindness, that same love became the foundation of his success. Her selfless love taught him how to be good, how to dream, and how to never give up. True love is not about what you get, but what you give. Sometimes, the greatest impact we make is through simple acts of kindness with no expectation of reward. Gratitude is the greatest form of honor. After years of silence, Daniel returned, not just to say thank you, but to repay everything Mama Grace had done for him. He didn't forget where he came from or who made it possible. He honored her publicly, financially, and emotionally, proving that gratitude isn't just a feeling, it's an action. Real gratitude means remembering those who stood by you when no one else would, and giving back not just when you can, but when you finally have the power to. This story reminds us that our actions matter more than we know. One act of love today could inspire a miracle tomorrow. If this story touched your heart, don't keep it to yourself. Like, comment, and share this video to spread the message of love and gratitude. And if you want more powerful, emotional, and inspiring stories like this, hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell so you never miss a new upload. Because sometimes, the most unforgettable stories come from the most unexpected places. Thank you very much for watching. Stay blessed. Until next time.